Welcome to Open Arms, an honest conversation about firearms. Hey everyone, I'm your host Brian Lockerman, and welcome to another episode of an honest conversation about firearms. It's going to be another good one today because remember, it's Canada Week. How's it going in there, Nikki?
Hey, you guys.
What's happening in there? You're looking good. Looking good.
You guys are looking good.
Hey, Nikki, so again, we talked about this before. The beauty about having Canada Zone, you and I get to actually know these people personally. And instead of just reading about them, we get to learn about them, who they are, and what they're doing. It is fantastic. And today on my show, I have Mike Koslow running for California District 26. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you so much, Brian. Good to be back again.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a while since you were last on the show, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's been happening in your campaign, correct?
Quite a bit.
Okay, before we get into that, again, I want to talk a little bit about the Second Amendment and firearms. Now, I know you're a very well-trained firearms expert. You've been from police force or something? Was it FBI?
With federal agent, Department of Defense, and the Air Force.
Gotcha. Very good. Now, my question is this, too, first, Mike. Did you grow up as a kid with guns in the home?
Very much so. From the time I was about probably 10 or 11 years old when I first received my first Marlin 22 from my dad. Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, obviously, your father or someone gave you safety training on the guns as well.
Very much
right?
so.
Yeah, see, that's good to hear. I like hearing those stories. That's the way I grew up too. We grew up, with firearms, hunting and shooting, and my father, my grandfather, my uncles, everybody really took the time to really give me safety training, making sure I was always safe when I had that firearm in my hand, and that's a good thing. That's what Open Arms Project's all about. We want to keep people safe. We want to bring back family values and also support our Second Amendment, which I know you do. Correct?
Very much so.
That's very good.
Very much so.
So, what are you doing about the Second Amendment? What are you trying to achieve to help keep our amendments strong?
I think two things really come to my mind, Brian. At the end of the day, is that it's a right under the Second Amendment. It is not a privilege. It's a right.
It's a right. You're right.
To be able to go ahead and own weapons in the United States of America. And responsibly, I might add, to your point about safety.
Absolutely.
Is that from the time I was 10 or 11 years old, when my dad took me out there, my grandfather took me out there, and we went out there with my brother and my sister as well, we were taught from the onset about to respect the weapon, to make sure that we knew the dangers associated with it, but to enjoy it as well.
That is it. You hit the nail on the head there. You respect that weapon, and you do enjoy it at the same time, which is fantastic. And that's what I tell everybody, comes into our safety training programs. You've got to respect that weapon. And you always treat that weapon as it's loaded, no matter when. I think I told you the story, I may or may not have, when I bought the brand new M4, and it was sealed in a box. I'm an FFL holder. And when I got the thing, I opened the seal up, pulled it out, pulled the charger back, and a live round flipped out. That's from the factory. So what does that tell you? No matter when, no matter why, when, how, where, that gun always got to be treated as a loaded weapon. You could clean that gun, you could think it's all clear, but next time you pick that thing up, you better clear it again. That's always my thing I tell people in these classes, that's for sure.
No, that's a good point, Brian. I remember when I was teaching adults and other federal agents as a firearms instructor, the need for safety, because I've even seen complacency on the firing line with even federal agents that have been doing it for 20, 30 years. And when you get that complacency and people don't check the charging handle, don't jack the round, as we call it, 3 times, and the slide pulling it back to ensure that it is an empty weapon, and make sure that the magazine is removed on semi-automatic weapons. All those things, and that we're taught and that we've experienced over the years of seeing unfortunate accidents occur for people that are unfamiliar with weapons safety. So I taught even Boy Scouts in the firearms and the rifle merit badges as far as the emphasis on safety first.
Yes, that is it right there. And you're right. I mean, there's people out there that will just willy-nilly buy a gun, throw it in their bed loaded, and be done with it, and that's what I'm trying to stop. And the good thing is, Mike, I mean, we are getting a lot of good response, a lot of good emails from people saying thank you for what we're doing here, because they're actually now taking safety training classes and they're not being stupid about it. Not that they're stupid. they're just not uneducated. That's the word. I want to go back on that. No one's stupid. It's just they're uneducated. If not, unless you're educated, you don't really know. And that's my purpose, is to educate people as much as I can. The more people I educate, and I feel like if we save one life, we're doing our job. So that's that.
And that's exactly the point. If we can get out there, and it's the individuals that are unfamiliar with firearms handling and operation that are the ones that, unfortunately, the ones that are susceptible to having accidents.
Exactly.
It's not the kids that we taught and we bring up on a recurring basis to be familiarized with the weapon and what to expect when it does go off or when it will go off. Those are the kinds of things that, from an educational perspective, that we need to make sure that we are training adults and children alike to make sure that they are responsible weapons and gun owners.
Amen. Very well said, Mike. I love it. I love it. Okay, so other than the Second Amendment push and like that, I've been learning a lot about you over the last months. One thing I learned about you, you're quite the singer. I tell you what, Mike, we went to an event the other night. It was a Sunday night, and it was karaoke for candidates or whatever it was called.
It was.
And Mike got up on that stage, and boy, he belted it out. And I'm like, whoa, where did this guy come from? It was fantastic. It was a good night. Stuff like that shows your personality. That's the beauty of going out to see candidates. Now, just to let everybody know, everybody should have received this in the mail. Their guide of all the candidates. You get a read up about your candidates, your propositions, everything like that. It's very good to read this, study this. It's great. However, getting out to events and seeing them in person and being able to ask them questions, that there to me is even better yet. And of course, you got your sample ballot here where, it looks just like when you go into the voting machine. Everybody should have one of these as well. But these are things that, people get these in the mail and they don't realize really what they have in their hands. And again, one thing again, we're trying to educate people about voting, about getting out there and vote. Learn your candidates. Get out there. Go to the events. Go learn who they are. Ask them, are they doing what you want them to do for our state and our country? That's what it's all about. Now, Mike, you got any events coming up?
I do, actually. There's a couple that are going to be coming up at different events, mostly from get meet and greets with different groups and different philosophical groups. There's one that we're going to be having a meet the candidates down in Los Angeles. That's going to be coming up on Friday. And look forward to make sure that we go to my website as well as going to the Facebook pages and to the Instagram pages to be able to go ahead and see what is happening with your respective candidates. And that way you really get a good feel for who we are, what we're about, and we're just not the proverbial talking heads.
I agree. And Nikki, you're going to post all that stuff too, where to find Mike. But also, Nikki, we enjoy going to these events and learning of the candidates, correct?
Yeah, we always have a great time, and it's great because it's very personable. We get to actually, like Brian said, we actually get to meet you and meet all the candidates in person.
I know we have because we're doing these shows now. I get to even get more in depth and really learn everybody. And again, that's why we're calling this Canada Week, because the primaries are coming up, as everyone knows, March the 5th. And we want to just help everybody get their word out, And again, Mike, I've been tracking you and watching what you're doing. It's your awesome campaign. I love what you're doing. Now, what else are you trying to achieve if you get in office?
Really what it comes down to is bringing back our society back to a level of common sense. That means looking at economic prosperity, putting laws and rules and regulations back into place that benefit the American people and American small businesses. As far as also from a national perspective, when we get involved in wars and conflicts and things of that overseas, we better have accountabilities. And that's one of the things that I mentioned to some of my future congressional colleagues that I'll be working with in the future, is that we've had inspector generals in Iraq, Afghanistan. Why did we not have that in places like Ukraine? So that way there's accountability for all these billions of dollars that we're sending. So essentially, in foreign affairs and activities in the national interest, we've got to make sure that, yes, if it's a strategic interest, we need to be there. But at the same time, we're spending American taxpayer dollars and need to be accountable for where those dollars go. If education, another big thing. I'll be finishing up my dissertation here at USC in about 3 months in education. And that being said, I'm near and dear to my heart as far as in making sure that our youth and our young people have the necessary academic tools to be successful in life. That means core education, science, math, reading,
Very nice.
and all those things that make them successful and competitive in the future on an equal basis. Not equitable, but equal basis. And then for safety and security is the really big area right now as far as we hear about the smash and grabs. These are organized. I was talking to Sheriff Freihoff, and in that discussion, it became clear that a lot of these organizations coming in from across the border, international organizations, that are transnational, as we refer to them, are coming across in an organized way and doing these smash and grabs and undermining the safety, security of one of our small businesses and putting our citizens at risk.
Yeah.
So we're trying to go ahead. Those are the 4 things that I would be working on diligently to be able to go ahead and make sure that we get control of that.
That is fantastic. Now, with that said, then how can we help you get in office? How can we help with those causes, as us?
One, first and foremost, is get involved. Be active.
There you go.
Be active. People complain a lot and say, I'm unhappy with this, I'm unhappy with these different issues, but they don't get involved.
Exactly. They do nothing about it. And you know what really irritates me too when people, complain about things and they won't go out and vote. I said, well, you're not going to make a difference if you don't get out there and vote. You have to do this. You have to get involved, like you said. You have to be part of the system. Let's bring this back. Let's get our state back. Let's make this happen, It's a good thing, and I love it. I love everything you're talking about right now. This is fantastic stuff.
Because we're at a precipice right now, Brian. When it comes down to it, is that we've allowed this to happen for probably the better part of 2 decades now, if not more.
Yeah.
To where all these things have turned our society upside down from what we knew and where we were able to thrive and make sure that our subsequent generations of children and grandchildren were able to go ahead and have the same benefits and prosperity that we knew. That's not the case now. Everything is happening, all these laws that are in place, Proposition 47, 57, which takes away authority from our law enforcement officials to enact law enforcement functions. All these different things that are in place right now are being put in place to undermine our society as we know it, and it's got to stop. And people like myself and others that are out there with like-minded efforts are going to do what we can progressively to be able to go ahead and put a stop to it and make sure that we put rules, laws, and regulations in place that benefit the American public.
Very good. Very, very good. Now, what's your take on the border?
On the border, I think it's very simple. We have laws in place, and they're just not being followed. President Trump, when he was in office with stay in Mexico policies, Title 42, and other types of rules and regulations out there that ensured that we just didn't have this mass migration coming across the border willy-nilly, if you will, which not only a lot of people don't recognize that if we enforce the laws that are in place, it'll allow our border patrol agents to go ahead and do what they're required to do.
Exactly.
And that interactivity with, in California especially, the local law enforcement are told, do not report known migrants or undocumented workers to Border Patrol. So you can't coordinate that effort. And that's something that happens here in California, is that a lot of law enforcement, now, fortunately, our sheriffs are smart and common sense individuals. I think it's about 60, if I remember, a little bit closer to that. But out of them, they recognize the adverse impact to their communities by not making that coordination with the Border Patrol and ICE. So they are going out of their way, and they are making those connections and those relationships and strengthening those to ensure that if we do identify migrants or undocumented workers that have come across and have no reportable show dates, if you will, then they are being detained and, as required by law, where they can, deported effectively. The problem being is that, from my perspective, you're letting over anywhere between 8 to 12 million. That's an entire large city. That's way too many.
That's insane.
Look at from the practical standpoint. Who's paying for all of that? They get a $1,000 gift card when they come across. Education, medical.
Yep.
That means that all those services that Americans and communities are accustomed to receiving, paying through their tax dollars, I might add, are being diminished
Uh-huh.
more and more and more. And that's something that we cannot accept and cannot tolerate.
I agree, Mike. And you know what is kind of cool that I saw the other day? There's a guy who was actually on a TikTok video who did kind of showing what, with gumballs, what really happens with us bringing over all these people. Does it really solve the world's crisis of poverty and all the other stuff? And he showed, it was so cool. I mean, I'll have to text it to you. And really, it's not. It's not helping the world at all for what letting these people into our country. All it's doing is hurting our country. I mean, it shows it, and he'll throw a little gumball and say, "This is 1 million people." He said, "Look at all these other people here." It was really cool to understand. It kind of woke me up too about what's really, are we really making a difference? And we're not. All it's doing is just hurting us as a country.
And that's what we're trying to do. Excuse me. Is from a philosophical and a humanitarian perspective, this nation has always been at the forefront as far as in trying to help others and perpetuate
Absolutely.
and give opportunities through the UN and others, which is another whole story right now. But the United States and the people in this country have always had that humanitarian component of our makeup. Is that we've been beneficial to be able to benefit from all the good things and the hard work that have made this country great and continue to do so. I still think this is a great country, but it needs to be able to get back on track again.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, I think really what we need to do is we try to perpetuate the idea of the republic, democratic republic that we are, and make sure that we perpetuate that and also keep identifying the problems in the world and help where we can from a humanitarian perspective.
Yeah.
But as far as in just letting everybody into this country of free-for-all, it's
no.
undermining our way of life and our society,
that's correct.
and it's undermining the ability of our citizens to thrive and prosper.
I agree there, 100% on there. And Nikki always remarks about that too as well when you talking about the border, right, Nikki?
Yeah, I always say, take the incentive away, then they have no reason to come here.
Exactly. That's the thing, I mean, we give them too much of a incentive to come over here, so they'll do everything they can to get over here.
How many people want to live in New York, Chicago, Oakland, San Francisco? I used to take my children to San Francisco because it was a beautiful city, and look what it's become now.
I know.
Thanks to our illustrious governor.
Oh God, I know. Isn't that just that's just another story there, right?
It is.
Yeah, but it seems. I mean, I don't know, but the more Nikki and I are out there, the more events we go, the more people we meet. It seems more and more and more people are really like-minded, like us. That we're finding out. Like you go back like before COVID, and once COVID hit. Her and I felt like we were minorities. We thought that we were the only two that had this like-minded thing, and we just kept finding more and more and more and more people. So it seems like there could be enough for us to flip this state. That's my thought. What's your thoughts, Mike?
Very much so, and I'm glad you brought that up, Brian. Every time I go out, and part of the campaign trail involves getting out and talking to people, not just handing out cards and shaking hands and meeting people, but getting into comprehensive discussions about what's important to you as an American citizen and a community-based individual. And I'm finding out, regardless of party affiliation.
There you go. I was just going to say that.
People are equally, and that's how you work in Congress, is you find that common ground and then expand from there as necessary. And that's that's the difference between being a statesman and being a politician.
Yes.
Is finding the way forward to be able to go ahead and benefit the American people and the community. And that's what it really comes down to.
That's it. And you're right about that. And it's not us. It's not just us like-minded people, but there's the people on the other side now are waking up. And those are the people that we need to come and figure this out. There's the people who are saying, I don't think I'm really happy with what's going on with my country. I don't think this is the right thing we're doing right now. I like hearing that. I like seeing that. And you're right. It's not about what party. It's about what you want your country to do for you.
We're all Americans.
And what you could do for your country.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, somebody's famous said that one time.
That's it. Yeah, no, we are. We're all Americans. We want the best for us. But there are still some people out there that just don't get it. And they do want our country to just to go to pot, But it's just example, like when I'm doing the gun thing, I wanted to get some people on my show, they're very anti-gun. And I have my Rolodex of people that are very anti-gun. So as I start calling them to get them on my show, I called 1, I called 2, I called 3. And they're like, oh, Brian, I purchased a gun. I got trained. I kind of like on your team now. And so it's good to see that and hear that people are a little waking up on that part too as well.
SB2, prime example.
There you
it went
go.
into effect January of this year, which basically says that you cannot carry a gun in certain areas. Where do the infractions occur? Where do the deaths occur? In those places.
In those places.
If I'm in a church,
Uh-huh.
or in a school, we have resource officers, but that's diminished as well because of funding constraints.
Yeah.
But in those places where those incidents occur, wouldn't you want somebody like me that has 20 or 30 years experience and proficiency
Yep.
in handling active shooter situations and knowing how to deal and handle a firearm, especially with children involved
absolutely.
or parishioners that are going to a church, is that, I can go down a list of how many times I can remember how a off-duty officer or somebody that had that kind of firearms training was able to go ahead and thwart. Now, unfortunately, there were losses and significant losses, and
Yeah.
that's to the families and others. But at the end of the day, think of what could have happened and how incredibly impactful that would have been in the negative, and how many other lives may have been lost if somebody hadn't been trained and responded to that.
I agree 1,000,000% there. That's true. That's that's been the big argument. That's for sure. But everything again, Mike. I love what you're saying. I love what you're talking about. People can go onto your website. That's the best place to find you, to where you're doing events and things like that, and learn more about you. And what is that website?
That is www.votemichaelkoslow.com.
Okay, and Nikki will definitely post that in the description on the show. Now you say you have this one event coming up. What any more events besides the one?
No, actually, just more or less getting out and talking to the people
Okay.
at this point. I mean, we're down to the last 2 weeks. We're under the
That's
wire,
it.
so to speak. The
That's
2-minute warning has gone off.
Yeah.
And we're at the point right now where I really want to get out and talk to people and emphasize who I am, what I stand for, and that I'm here for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I agree. And again, I tell everybody, get out there. Talk to your politician. Talk to who's your candidate, who's running. What are they doing for you? What do you want them to do for you? It's great to learn who they are, and that way it won't sway your vote. You got the people who vote like this. Let's see. Oh, that's kind of a neat name. Okay, let's see this next one. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, now, you know what I mean? No. You want to learn, educate yourself. Learn about the propositions, too. Those are big, too, as well. So we just got to get all that, the right votes in.
And there's the key word on your part, educate. Educate.
Education.
And that's part of my job is to get out there and educate with fact-based information versus what the media may be putting out there as disinformation.
There you go, Mike. Very good. Nikki, do you have any questions for Mike?
What song are we singing?
Take It Easy by
All
the
right.
Eagles.
No, we love your campaign. We had a great night at the
Yeah.
event, and good luck, everyone. Don't forget to vote March 5th.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Very well said. Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on my show again. Let's root you on here. Let's get you past the primary, get you back on, and then we'll really, really make a real good push for it.
Thank you so much, Brian, as always.
Absolutely. Again, been a pleasure. Love having you on. Nikki, you're going to definitely post all of his stuff, right?
Yes, everything, all your campaign, website, social media, everything will be on the description box below. But before we go, Brian, I really like your shirt.
Oh, yes. This is the Open Arms apparel. You can go to our store and buy this nice merch for Open Arms. Good shirts. There's shirts, sweatshirts, hats, you name it. Just get out there. People love it. I tell you what, people see the logo and they see the Open Arms and they love it. I mean, I've had people actually call me up, and one guy said, I'm going to get that tattooed on me. I'm like, hey, you go, buddy, you go. So anyways, yeah, go to our store. Nikki will also post
The
out there.
store will be linked below. We have flannels, beanies, hats, T-shirts, women's tank tops. I get stopped all the time asking about, what is Open Arms? What is that? Because the logo is kind of just, it's very pops, So Yeah, if you guys want some open arm merch, link is in the bio.
You know why that logo's so good, Mike, right?
Why is that?
I designed it.
Oh, okay. I knew there was expertise and brilliance in that.
That's it. So when you do get past the primaries, we're going to dress you up in open arms gear, and you're going to go out and campaign with open arms.
Proudly.
There you go. All right, very good. Mike, any last words for you?
No, I just really want to say thank you very much. And at the same time, I can't emphasize enough, get out there and vote. It's imperative to be able to go ahead and maintain our way of life. Get out there and vote, folks.
That's it. That's it. Very good, Mike. Thank you again for coming on. It was a pleasure again, and looking forward to more adventures with you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Nikki, where can people find us?
You can find Open Arms on Instagram at openarms.tv and YouTube, Open Arms TV. And we'll leave everything in the description box below, all Mike's information. And don't forget to vote March 5th.
There you go.
Important day.
All right, guys, that's our show for today. And always remember, safety, family, and the Second Amendment. Have a good day.